Hello, everyone. Ron Frost here once again with another episode of Raising the Consciousness of Humanity. The guest I have today, Beth Kromer, it's a very special topic. It's plant-based medicine. I'm going to let her talk to you more about that. But before I bring her on, I wanna read her intro and slip on my reader glasses here. Beth Kromer is the co-founder of Field Guide 9, a spiritual community and retreat organization where plant medicine is used as a sacrament. Beth leads the organization and has overseen hundreds of retreat weekends over the past several years, designing and guiding curated ayahuasca and psilocybin journeys. I mess that word up every time, with strong preparation and integration support. Her work centers around translating powerful inner experiences with lasting change. We all want lasting change, particularly in the area of such as trauma, menopause, anxiety, depression, and the deeper questions of purpose and life achievement. Beth brings deep familiarity with ayahuasca traditions, psilocybin work, and the growing body of research around psychedelic assisted healing. Her approach draws in Jungian psychology, integrated family systems, and belief inquiry practices with a strong emphasis on integration. You're going to absolutely love this. Beth actually has, previous to that, has had a corporate background in coaching. And so, yeah, I'm going to let her share a little bit about her background in just a moment. But let me click here and get Beth onto our screen. And here she is. Well, welcome, Beth. Welcome to the show. I'm super happy that you're here. We haven't had anybody that specializes in plant medicine, ayahuasca, or any of these types of topics. I know we do have a lot of interest. And where I'd love to start is a little bit of your background, because that way the audience gets to know, what called you to go on this particular journey and serve the world the way you do through understanding and I know you said you're not really a facilitator, but share a little bit about what was your background leading up to where you are now.
Sure. So first of all, thank you for this conversation. I love this topic. So for 25 years, I worked heading up HR for various companies, and I worked quite a bit on coaching people and really working with small teams in development of human potential. I was super passionate about that. But during the pandemic, I had a, a personal crisis in which the company I was working for at that time in LA had 26 different subsidiaries, and two of them were alcohol distribution. So during the pandemic, it was my job and the team to pretty much let go or fire everyone except the people that had to work to distribute alcohol, which was totally against my personal views. And I thought, I can't do this anymore. So I quit. And at that point, I had never, not once, I didn't even use cannabis. I didn't drink. And I was like, I want to try magic mushrooms. I had read Michael Pollan's book, How to Change Your Mind. It's a great book. And I found a place in Southern California, which the woman had been doing it about 20 years with magic mushrooms. I sat with her and a smaller group of people, and it changed my whole worldview. At that point, it was as if I had switched from thinking the universe was at best neutral. Had been raised in a very, very religious childhood with a very harsh religious viewpoint. And I thought I had graduated to thinking the universe is neutral. And I left that ceremony saying, no, it's it's much bigger, better than that. And so that's how I started. But to say, so what I do with Field Guide 9, which is a not-for-profit organization, is I do the pre-work with people and I focus on integration. And I'm at the ceremonies outside of the room supporting people. The people that are the practitioners have lots of training that's very different than what I do. So that's kind of a long answer, hopefully.
It's the perfect answer. My curious question was that moment that you actually, while you were still going through what you were going through, you did the magic mushrooms. The experience or the shift that you felt or had was, did that stay with you, or did you find that it just was something that maybe changed just in a moment and it maybe didn't last?
So it's a great question because though it stays with me, I think it stayed with me because I have a deep personal practice of engaging with people, my own community. I spoke about it all the time. I was
Yep.
passionate about saying it was such a perspective shift. So my perspective changed. My world did not. All the systems I had in place were the same, but it was if I was looking at it from a different perspective, a perspective of if, for example, if I made decisions based not on fear,
Hmm.
what would my world be? Is though it's like an opening of a door. I spoke to so many people about it that the next time I sat, which was 6 months later, 5 people came with me. And then 6 months later, 10 people came with me.
Oh, wow.
And at that point, people said, this, you should do this.
Yeah.
Help people come to this, help people integrate this into their lives. And that was the genesis of Field Guide 9.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I want to bring up the topic from a person like you shared. Like I had never done marijuana or did anything, and then you said yes to
Yeah.
this, and yeah, and it's like I actually have never done ayahuasca, but like I shared just briefly while we were waiting before we came on, that I did do the magic mushrooms a while ago with some friends, and I really didn't feel I would say the thing I maybe felt was I felt some sense of well-being.
Uh,
That was, but I didn't have any psychedelic experience or anything else where I've heard other people say that. So I'm like, did I get bad mushrooms or was
well, yeah. So I have, and the Field Guide 9 predominantly works with ayahuasca, and I can talk about why. We
yeah,
do have a lot of experience with psilocybin, and I do personally. And it really depends on how much you took.
yep.
There's this adage of set and setting. It depends on the pre-work and mushrooms, psilocybin, their potency diminishes over time.
Oh,
So there's a lot of things to know about this.
sure.
This much I would say. What we're working with, if Field Guide 9, if it's an ayahuasca ceremony or psilocybin, the psychedelic experience is not the goal. That
Cool.
is, it's almost like a secondary thing. The
Yeah.
primary thing is healing, a state change, perspective shift, which if you see things, if some of us have very spiritual experiences, I personally usually do. Um, but the whole part about this is that there's neuroplasticity that comes in with
Mm.
psilocybin or ayahuasca, meaning after the ceremony, we're super open, like when we were children, to have changes in how we engage with our lives in the world. And that's what we're after. That's where
Nice.
that's where the science comes in.
Okay, so healing, state change, and you said what was the last one? Change of perspective, was it?
Yes.
Okay.
So the what can happen in a good ceremony, which I put that in quotes, because it could be challenging, it could be beautiful, it can be euphoric, it can be a little scary, it can be all of those things. Yet what's happening during what we said with plant medicine is the default mode network in our brain comes down. That's the part that is the protectors,
Yeah.
the parts that say this isn't possible, or I have these limiting beliefs, or the world is hostile, and therefore I need to protect myself. Those beliefs come down,
Mm.
and our openness to reality is much more expansive. The aperture of what we can see and experience grows. So that stays that way for weeks afterwards. About 2 weeks with psilocybin, about 6 weeks with ayahuasca.
Oh,
With
6 weeks. Okay.
yes, much, much different. And within that period of time, what if we can take an analysis of ourselves
Mm.
and what's possible and how we want to create our lives? That's where the changes happen. So
Wow.
a psychedelic experience is secondary to what is actually happening and deep changes
That makes
with
sense.
hopefully that's
Yeah.
not too sciencey.
Yeah, no, no,
So,
no, that makes
okay.
perfect sense. Glad you shared that for our audience because there's probably other people out there that were thinking the same way I was. But, and the ironic thing, I'm just picking up on this where, you know, the government was all about promoting alcohol, uh, but
Yes.
but they don't want us to, share and benefit from Mother Nature and these, natural remedies that can be very beneficial.
Well, yeah, I could talk about alcohol for a very long time because it's been highly promoted by our government. And unfortunately, it there's many studies that show it's the cause of a lot of aggression,
Uh,
especially with young men. And so that is never the case when someone's sitting with plant medicines. It's absolutely the opposite. So in the first uh, psychedelic surge in North America, this part, let's just say the United States, was during the Vietnam War. And
mm,
it was shut down hard and fast because anybody who had a psychedelic experience was not going to go to war. It just isn't going to happen.
right?
It's the
Yeah.
opposite. It's almost universal when people sit with plant medicine, the compassion and understanding for other people grows
Mm,
exponentially.
yeah.
So, well,
Yeah. And like you,
even the concept that that we're not connected becomes alien. So if I harm you, I'm harming me is pretty profound.
yes.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Somebody awakens to that, they would not want to go to war. So
no.
yeah, I see. Yeah.
And also with that type of experience, we have a lot of people because we're just north of San Francisco or Silicon Valley. We have a lot of tech people, investment people, bankers, but we also have medical people. Just one of the, we have lots of different people that come here. And I personally love it because I think there's a huge shift change in what is most important. Our society right now is absolutely geared towards money and financial success. And when that starts shifting, lots of things are possible. So,
Yeah, very, very true. And I think we're going through that shift globally now. And honestly, I think things like, you know, plant-based medicine, ayahuasca could probably, in many cases, be very, very helpful to an individual that is actually dealing with trauma. And so
Yes.
could you maybe share a little bit of the history? I know it comes from a South America, and you shared a little bit that before we got on to record, but can you share a little bit of the background and the history of ayahuasca?
Sure. So ayahuasca is actually two plants that are combined, chacruna and ayahuasca. And what happens is with the two plants, they boil them for days. It's like a thick coffee, it looks like. It doesn't taste like coffee. But what what happens is it increases, surges DMT within us. DMT is what surges at birth, death, and near death experiences. So it expands our consciousness like brilliantly, that the chacruna and ayahuasca together make it so that our systems can absorb it. Otherwise, nothing would happen. Anyhow, the Shipibo are an indigenous group of people that are from the Amazon and the Peruvian area. They've been there thousands of years, and it is considered that they are the people that first found ayahuasca, which you could ask, how did they put these two things together and boil them for 3 days and come up with this brew? And if you ask the Shipibo, they will say that all of the plants are sentient,
Yep,
and the tobacco plant, the grandfather plant, which they smoked, not like we do with cigarettes,
yep.
but that the tobacco plant informed them how to do this. So, anyhow, they've been working with ayahuasca for thousands of years. It's considered female, it's considered grandmother, which I find
Hmm.
amazing and appropriate. And they sing in ceremony, and the singing is ikros. Ikros are supposed to help move energy out of us that we store. So for the Shipibo, the belief is that we've stored energy that's making us sick.
Hmm.
And the ayahuasca plus the shaman or the facilitator plus the ikros that are sung to the participant help lift it. So what's fascinating from a Western perspective is our definition of trauma is stored emotion.
Hmm.
So in a ayahuasca ceremony, should people informed, it's the exact same thing, lifting the energy of trauma out of us.
Hmm.
So I find it fascinating that the Shipibo have held this tradition for thousands of years. They were never colonized. It's a verbal history, so it's intact. And their mission is to train people to come to them, to sit with them for a year. It's a minimum of a year, usually more,
Oh,
hundreds of
wow.
ceremonies, and spread this outside of South America. And we're part of that. So our practitioners are affiliated with one center in Peru, and they train there and come here in other places to sit ceremony. So if you come here, it's identical ceremony as if you were going to Peru. You do it the
Okay.
exact same way.
And do you get people coming from outside the area, or most of your people are actually from the San Francisco? Like,
I would say about a third are from this area, 2/3 are from all over. I think the first, the person that's coming from the farthest right now is Australia.
oh,
So,
wow.
which I think is crazy. Well, not crazy, but it's because we have the medicine from Peru, we call it medicine, ayahuasca. We have the practitioners that are trained and blessed
Yep.
from the maestro in Peru that leads this. So the ceremonies are identical, but we do it in this location right here. It's very safe. We have lots of support, and we speak English, and we do 6 weeks of integration with people. So we meld
Okay.
the experience you could have if you went to South America with a very Western support system. So we have people come from all over the United States or Canada who want an authentic experience but would prefer to stay in the United States.
Okay. So if a person wants to come to the actual ceremony or the event, as far as so is that itself a 1 day event, or you talk about the integration also, but
Yeah. So typically, so ayahuasca, it's either 2 ceremonies or 3 ceremonies with us. That's our typical. So we would normally have people, we start our retreat, if you want to call it that, on a Thursday morning at 10 a.m. And we do a lot of pre-work with people, a small group, and 6 people or less. And we talk a lot about limiting beliefs,
yeah.
what people would like to work through. We break down I like we start having super authentic conversations with people, and this is part of the whole process. So we really speak honestly about what we want, what we don't have in our lives, and what led us to this point. Almost every person
Yeah.
I've ever met has some trauma, has some limiting beliefs. And we weren't born with this. So we're trying to get back to that. So, anyhow, we spent several hours in our small group. There's a 4 or 5 hour ceremony as soon as it gets dark out. And then we do it 2 nights or 3 nights. Ayahuasca is different than other psychedelics, it builds on itself.
Oh,
So
okay.
the first night is an introductory night. The second night will it's still in your system, so it gets a little bit stronger and a little bit stronger. And so it's 3 nights usually of ceremonies.
Okay, well, that's something I didn't know. And then, so after the 3 nights, does everybody just get up and go, or do they have a do you talk?
Well,
Is there more? Yeah.
we have we're very fortunate that we have a beautiful location you can see behind us,
Yeah.
in which the accommodations are nice. And sometimes it is dark skies and the food's great. But we sometimes people would like to stay even an extra night, which they can. But um, once the 3 or 4 days are completed and people have had these experiences, we immediately go into integration. And it's what we consider the most important component by
Okay.
far. So with this small group of 6 people, we have Zoom calls because people are coming from all over, and we have 6 weeks of integration. So we have at least one call a week with this group. And we really start taking it into what was learned, what was let go, how do we implement this in our lives? And
Mm,
we find that the Shipibo, when they sat ceremony in small groups, they integrated with their community. And we just don't have that
okay.
in the United States. That's a big focus of ours. And then for anyone who is sat with us, we have in ongoing, we call continuity call once a week forever. So
Oh, wow.
we've been doing this for 3 years. So we have a lot of people.
for
that
sure.
we're in connection with. Yes. So
Nice. Wow. So that's quite a bit that I didn't even know or realize. And so so some questions that kind of came up in my mind. And one is, I think my look at trauma is if you're breathing and you're on planet Earth, you probably have trauma. So
it's
so
true.
yeah, and also my curiosity is, does anybody, and not maybe not every single person, but does anybody after they go through that process and they start releasing some trauma and they start to feel like, does anybody start to maybe discover their personal soul calling or unique purpose or anything like that come up
Yeah.
for?
Yeah, I think that's the hallmark of ayahuasca. It's such a profound shift in perspective and possibility. And when we start dropping our limiting beliefs, like I'm not
Yeah,
good enough, or I'm not safe, or I can't get what I need. And a big one for a lot of our participants is to really be in a place that the universe is working for us, not against us.
yeah.
And when we pause and think about that, what it took for you to even be sitting here or me is an utter miracle.
Mm,
And I talk about this all the time. All the things that's working are working for us, like your lungs, your kidneys. Hey, I don't even know how they work,
yeah.
but they're working for me. So when we have this profound belief that I'm here for a reason, that experiences are good, that things are working for me, and perhaps I can make decisions not based out of fear, perhaps out of love, or I have a higher purpose, people shift.
Mm,
It's not uh, like people sell their houses, live in the street. It's nothing like that. It's that people decide that they focus on what's meaningful and important, and that becomes very clear to many people. So when we have doctors or medical or therapists who come here, they shift in their approach to patients. They start seeing the person as a human being with a soul. And so they spend a whole lot more time with people than they did before. Okay, our medical establishment does not support that.
mm,
But at a certain point, if we feel like we have enough, then perhaps we can spend more time in those things that are most important, because people usually go into a medical profession because they want to help people, not because they want to ignore them. So those are the type of shifts that happen.
yeah.
And the other shift that happens is once people experience something like this, they talk about it to everyone. So we
Yeah,
get a lot of referrals because
sure.
people see that things have shifted. The other thing that happens generally once people have spent some time is the news is not as important. People don't follow politics. They don't follow social media. It's unimportant. There's
Mm.
many other things. People tend to not be very good at inauthentic conversations, and if people drink alcohol, usually that goes away.
Interesting. Okay. Wow. Well, I can definitely say there's a big deal with the polarization of politics going on in the world. And
Yeah,
I actually had an incident where Spirit basically talked directly to me, and I got rid of my TV like a number of
good.
years ago. I don't even have a TV. It's
Uh,
like, and not that I don't care, because sometimes people look at you like you don't care about. I do care about the world, but
yes.
my vibration, I think, is really important. That's why I care. So I want to make sure, that I, can. cannot be dragged into all the drama,
Yeah.
that doesn't serve me. But interestingly, like you said, you get a lot of referrals because people probably see the state change.
Yes.
They that's proof. And
Hmm.
the other thing I would say, Beth, is I've been in spirituality for a while, and started just with things that kind of made me curious and wanting to seek. And there's a lot of beautiful spiritual traditions. There's a lot of beautiful, like a lot of spiritual teachings are that they're teachings. They might come from books, wisdom, knowledge, and I find that a more mental process.
Yeah.
It's good, but it's more mental process. But from what you're sharing is more deeply embodied
Hmm.
and perhaps even heart opening because you're unlocking or letting go of some of the trauma or limiting beliefs. So from an experiential standpoint, which I, honestly is really the blending of the mind and the heart, right? So I can see that really being something that's transformative to people.
Yeah, so DMT, which is activated by ayahuasca, is called the spirit molecule.
Okay.
And for that reason, we have people, I know of hundreds of people that have come through, and every faith, everything, including agnostic or atheist. I've never seen a person leave being an atheist, but what I would say is you generally people talk about ayahuasca as being ineffable, something we can't use language to explain.
Hmm.
Our first memories are not based in language, not at all. That's a secondary way of trying to explain something else. So when people sit ceremony, when I've said ceremony, it's a knowing that is so deep. There is no book. There's no singular religion that can explain what is true. They all point to the truth. But if we're going to talk about Catholicism, it's a finger. Hinduism, it's a finger pointing to some truth. It's not the truth in my
Hmm.
perspective. So we have people who are deeply Christian, Hindus, Jewish, and that only gets strengthened, but not the religious dogma, but
Hmm.
the truth of what the pieces of truth that everyone's trying to say. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things is that um, nobody seems to say, I'm going to sit down and strengthen my belief, but it happens. It
Yeah.
just happens. And there's no explanation.
Yeah. Here's another question, Beth. It's I imagine that so if a person has gone through the ayahuasca experience with your team and everything else, do you come across people that intuition opens, like intuition channels
Yes.
kind of start to open? 'Cause
So,
I say that because I fell off my bike and after that I felt like not that I was not intuitive before that, but it was something changed. Yeah.
yeah. So what we have seen, which I find incredibly surprising at first, but I don't anymore, I believe that we all have my belief is that we pick up consciousness. Our brains don't create consciousness. It exists. And therefore, my belief is that things like ayahuasca is conscious as well. So be that as in me. I believe that we're born with connectivity that is much, much stronger than we're led to believe. So, for example, a newborn and his or her mother communicate with no language. The baby has telepathy, if you will, and so does the mom.
Mm.
It just happens. Moms can tell what babies, some dads too, need. We have this. Society, our structures, what we're taught, close that down and say
Mm,
that's not true. Or perhaps a little girl or a little boy knows things, but we're like, you can't know that. And pretty soon the child or young adult knows not to talk about it, right? Because they don't want to be rejected. But if we look, if we pause and we watch, there's a lot more communication going on than verbal or even what we can see. We can
yep.
feel things. And so when people sit with ayahuasca, it's not so much that this happens. It's not like we go to a state that we've never been before. We've been there. We have
Mm,
forgotten. We as society, protection goes up. But once that falls down, our natural state emerges.
yeah.
So, for example, at this point, I've probably sat with ayahuasca a dozen times, which is not huge in this field, but I could talk to a person for a very short period of time and pretty much understand what's going on with them
Oh, wow.
subconsciously.
Wow.
And people will say, how can you do that? And I'm like, well, because it's obvious.
Yeah.
It's just emanating. It's like Carl Jung has this quote that I love. He said, until we bring the subconscious to the conscious, it will drive us and we will call it fate.
Mm,
So we operate on our subconscious all the time. If you're calm enough, quiet enough, in touch enough, you can see the subconscious of other people.
okay. Yeah. So it helps you sink deeper into self-awareness
And awareness of the other.
and the awareness of the other. Yeah, so that makes sense. And like you shared about, us being kind of like a receiver, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Um, which leads me to another question. You hear quite often about the pineal gland getting calcified by fluoride toothpaste and all these other things. Does ayahuasca in a way kind of help decalcify or help shift that in
Yeah.
it?
So the Shipibo believe for sure. And we in the West, when we pause long enough, believe it as well, is that we're sick or ill or closed off because we're holding things in our bodies. We're holding trauma, we're holding energy, we're poisoned by our environment, which
Mm,
can talk a lot about that as well. But if people are taking things or drinking alcohol or taking antidepressants, I do really do not judge people, but a third of women in the United States are on an antidepressant. It's suppressing our emotions.
mm,
It's numbing us. And we have all of these things in our society, whether it be social media, medication, alcohol, lots of things that numb us
mm.
and calcify.
Yeah.
When we sit with ayahuasca, especially when there's ikros, which the Shipibo sing, practitioners sing in a ceremony, it lifts the energy that's stored and clamping down into all of this, our energy down. When that gets lifted up, our essence gets stronger and stronger. It's not like something is put in, something is taken out,
Yeah.
which to me is so. What we're saying is, Ron, you have everything you need in you. You were born that way.
Mm,
And it's to bring more of that to light.
yeah.
Because I don't want to ever say a person there's something they're broken, because you're not.
Yeah.
You might have some armor on. And I do believe that we have toxins and poisons in our society and our environment. Some of them are ingested, some of them are absorbed.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, Beth, you're right about that. And like I said, and not to judge anybody, because some people just don't know. And that's why we
right.
bring people like you on the show to help with the
Mhm.
education around this. Because, well, for one thing, we're sitting in a Wi-Fi soup all day long.
Yes.
And there's a number of, things that have kind of crept into our environment that have a toxic effect. And it's been slowly over time or accepted. And you know, well-being doctors like you shared who really want to heal people, that's their calling.
Yeah.
They don't know any better because they're trained in a system that's actually says give this pill or whatever.
Right.
Um, and yeah, so I appreciate you sharing about that. I have another question. When somebody starts to go through this experience, you shared about intuitive channels opening up. That would tell me also that areas of creativity. Uh,
Yes.
I'm thinking like if somebody is naturally wired for as a writer or a poet or a songwriter or an artist, or do you find, or does, from your experience with other people that you've worked with that have come through your program, has that been shared also?
Oh, for sure. It's for
What about
sure.
the fear of public speaking?
So what happens is the when we come from a place that we're not making decisions from fear,
Hmm.
or we don't feel that, it's like we have these gifts and we have this reason for being. And
Hmm.
I believe that we're here for a reason, each of us.
Hmm.
That calling gets stronger. It's not that fear goes away totally, it's just, it's not serving us. So we all have limiting beliefs. Probably the strongest one is being rejected. If that limiting belief comes down to say, I can never be rejected, there's no part of me that can be rejected, then our talents come forth, whether it be art, music, it can be speaking, it can be doing what is so passionately what we always wanted. When we were little, we just wanted to explore the world. And then at some point, things got complicated, or we were afraid that we would be rejected, and things stopped that. Almost every small child loves to draw, to
Yeah.
make art. Where did that go?
Hmm.
And so we have work with people with limiting beliefs all the time. Like one that I used to have is I can't get what I really need. And I was raised in a family that was very, very poor and very, very harsh religion. And I held pretty tight into that belief that when I was small, I didn't get what I needed, which is not true.
Hmm.
I did get what I needed because I'm alive and I'm flourishing. It might not have been pleasant sometimes, but I have always gotten what I needed, and I will always have what I need, always,
Hmm.
even to the day that I die, because I will need to die. So, if I'm living from that perspective, what is it to be afraid of?
Yeah. Yeah. Very true.
So, I think we're so busy being afraid of what could happen or what we could lose or what we want. It's like somewhere in the future, somewhere in the past, but almost every present moment is perfect. Or should I say, every present moment is perfect?
Yeah. 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 But you're right. There's so many people that are walking around with the fear of being judged, the
Yes.
fear of not being good enough or not being ready. I mean, I had that. I had when I was really, really young, I was like, I used to have the fear of I'm not old enough.
Do
It never
you
went
have that
away. I'm
fear?
64. I'm 64 years old, and that's like,
Well,
um,
what's so funny is it's our limiting beliefs are like turtles all the way down. Like what was below the belief that I'm not old enough? It probably was I'm not good enough.
yeah.
And you weren't born with that belief.
Hmm.
No baby is
Nobody
born
came into this world with
with
those
those things.
beliefs. Yeah,
No,
yeah,
no, but they're things that we've learned or we've taken on to try to protect ourselves, but we don't need those.
yeah.
That's a myth. So,
Good. Well, question about the I noticed you mentioned a little bit with in your write-up about I was familiar with the term of integrated family systems. I've seen that
uh,
before, and I've seen practitioners and that work. So, is that also utilized, or is you shared a little bit about the long-term work of working with the people that have come through your center. Is there any of that type of work that's
sure.
done too?
Sure. So internal family systems, which is also referred to as IFS, there's
IFS, yeah.
a great book that's called No Bad Parts. IFS is used, mm, a lot of people who've sat with medicine gravitate towards it because it's a model for us to understand different parts of us. So yes, we use this quite a bit, but so, for example, a person might feel that they have a lot of anxiety and they hate their anxiety. And they might say, I just want to get rid of this. I hate it. It's destroying my life. Well, the anxiety or the fear is a part. It's a part of us. And that
Mm,
part doesn't want to hurt us. It wants to protect us. So it will bring up, like, we should be afraid of this and the next thing and the next thing so that somehow we can be safe. It gets overused. Our society feeds it, but it's a part. And when we can look at that part of ourselves with compassion, love, and understanding, and even say, be curious. Like, this is a part of me. Can I even love this part of me? And then it's amazing how that energy comes down because that part is seen and heard and understood. And then our self, and in IFS, there's a self, which I refer to as our soul, is the more adult, nurturing component of us can look at our parts and say, I understand you. Thank you.
mm,
And I've got this because you know what? We're safe. I'm safe. We're always going to be safe. We can
mm,
feel scared, but I'm here with you. So it's a framework that helps us talk about shifting the models that we have developed around ourselves. So what bothers me is when people say, I am depressed. And I would rather say, you're feeling sad. I'm
yeah,
feeling sad. And a little kid who's sad, who's 3 or 4, we don't go to him and say, you're depressed. We
yeah.
say, you're sad, sweetheart, let's talk about it. So a lot of what we're doing with Field Guide 9 is helping people nurture themselves in the ways that they were never nurtured as a child, because none of us were nurtured perfectly. And we keep looking for that. And the funny thing is, we're perfectly designed to give ourselves what we need.
Mm,
And that probably is the biggest focus of integration, of helping people understand with compassion and love themselves, that there's not anything broken or bad. It's just self-inquiry.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Yeah, I like the example you shared. I am is a affirmation. So when somebody says the word after that, they say depressed, that's like a self-identifying statement. So
uh,
you would say, yeah, you're
right,
sad in this moment.
right.
It's
And
not a
that's,
label.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's one of the things we work with limiting beliefs. So if someone would say, I'm not good enough, I'll often say, so what's the opposite of that?
Mm,
And when we're successful, people start to say, I am a miracle.
I am a miracle. That's beautiful. Yeah,
And
that's a
it's
powerful
true.
affirmation right there. Yeah.
But it's hard for people to say it. I'm like,
Well, it's hard for
say
people to
it.
feel it too, probably.
Well, first, I mean, for me, I'm like, say
Yeah,
it, and say it, and say it. And then that's what's beautiful about doing this work in small groups, because the other five people that are sitting with that person look at them and reflect back. He's a miracle.
yeah,
He is. And so I am seen in the eyes of others when I don't have the strength. So,
beautiful, beautiful. Well, so these events, are they found on your website?
yes,
So that's fieldguide9.com.
that's right.
And it's the
So,
number, actually the number, physical
number
number,
nine,
not spelled out. Okay.
right,
So
right.
so would anybody listening would they have to bring the other five to make a sixth group, or could they fit into a group that's already there that's
Yeah,
miss?
it's so funny because oftentimes, sometimes people come with a friend or a family member or a spouse, but a lot of times people come alone, and then their spouse comes, and then, down the line. We only have six people. We only do it once a month. So it's when people sign up, it's something miraculous happens because those six people fall in love with each other. They become close, they know each other, and there's no strangers. It's
Yeah,
the commonality. It's very, very interesting because the one thing we never talk about at Field Guide 9 is politics, ever.
yeah,
Yeah, so we have people who I don't know if they would ever have spoken outside of here, but they become the tightest people because they're seeing the other person in an authentic, genuine way. So, yes. So people sign up and they come and they find out who they were supposed to meet.
I love that. I believe in divine alignment, and
Mhm.
that's even with the people that we meet along our journey of life. And
Mhm.
I can imagine they'll probably become the best of friends for a lifetime after that.
We have people. We had one person who was a pretty successful architect and another younger guy who was just starting off in his career. And the younger guy called the architect like a couple of weeks later to check in, and he just stepped out of the meeting to take the call. It's like this, these type of bonds happen, and I love it because it grows the community much stronger than the people who founded this, and I love that. So
I can see how you're glowing. I'm sure you'll probably never go back to corporate America again.
no, no, I thought it was the worst of things when I was like, I can't do this anymore. And it's been the best of things
Hmm.
because I was blessed with many, many, many years of training on how to do this,
Yeah.
but never for the reason of just well-being. And I shouldn't use the word just. So, yeah.
Yeah, your training background is perfect for
Mhm.
what you do. Well, how can people find out more? So the website is fieldguide9.com. the number 9.com.
.com.
And
Yeah.
can they reach out to you directly?
Right, right. And my email is super easy. It's beth@fieldguide9.com.
Okay,
So that so I'll just say a few things. We always talk to people ahead of time. We never try to sell anybody anything. We never talk people into anything. We just explain what we do. And we have a deep belief that people will come here when they're ready. And so we talk to people. A couple caveats is we do not work with people, we cannot work with people that are on a psychotropic, like an SSRI, because it deadens the whole experience. You
oh,
won't have it. We also do not work with people who have an active addiction to alcohol or any drug. It's just, we can talk to people about places that will, but that's really not our model. Aside from that, we simply talk to people and we have a little bit of a screening process, and it's mostly the screening is to make sure that people don't have like if someone has a background of schizophrenia or bipolar disorder, this is not usually a good thing for them.
sure.
So aside from that, we just talk to people. If they decide they want to do it, they let us know. We're not for profit. I think I have mentioned to you before, we have a religious designation because in the United States, under the Religious Restoration and Freedom Act, you can practice plant medicine as a sacrament. So, and we have no singular religion. We have faith.
Faith.
That,
Beautiful. Beautifully spoken. Well, Beth, I will make sure your email is in the description below. The website is in the description below. And so this will be like on YouTube, and anything else that I email out or send to people, I'll include that as well. And if there's anything else, any other link or whatever, just share it with me, and I'll make sure that that gets included. And yeah, I really appreciate your time. I learned a lot. I'm sure my audience learned a lot. And the fact that people can reach out to you, I'm assuming if, it's booked for 1 month, there's probably a waiting list or something okay, good, good. Well, any last thoughts, words of wisdom that you may want to share?
Yeah, I think, first of all, Ron, I deeply appreciate the conversation. It's a topic that I love talking about. And so thank you very much. The thing that I think is so fascinating is our oldest participant is 85 years old. And he and some other people have said that their only regret is that they didn't sit sooner. And it's not, I think it's because it's a way of appreciating this magnificent life we have more and to set down some of the things we don't have to carry anymore. And that's what I'm passionate about. And I deeply appreciate the time. And I'm happy to talk to anyone, whether they come to us or not. We're not for profit. Our whole motive is that we're bringing this to the United States. That's it.
Thank you. Well,
So,
Beth, thank you for your time. Thank you for shining your light in the world. This has been a beautiful time to hear the wisdom that you've shared about ayahuasca, plant medicine, and so much more.
thank you, Ron. Take care.
Take care. Bye bye.